Previously on Batman, the Cape Crusader, uh, hold on. The Cape Crusader was chasing around Catwoman. And now the rest of the story. The episode ends. Welcome back, by the way. This is Royce Miller. Come back at you with part 2 of my ramble about Batman the Animated Series, or about Batman Cape Crusader. I'm begging your pardon. So, Kiss of the Catwoman ends with Catwoman needing to post bail because she finally got caught red-handed, and a character who I haven't introduced yet called Greta, her maid, who she has been ignoring the entire episode despite all the work she's done for her, decided to sell all the stuff Catwoman owned as back pay for the 3 years of service that she's gone unpaid for. Which, like, how is she eating? How is she, like, what the heck? It also kind of shows the difference between Catwoman and Batman, in that, like, Batman, even though he doesn't see Alfred as a father figure in this specific show yet, anyway, it's still, or he still respects Pennyworth, and probably pays him pretty decently. And the moral of the story is, pay your workers, and especially pay them what they're worth. To any business owners you may be watching, F you. I'm kidding. Anyway, next up is Night of the Hunters. And the 2 notes I have for this, first off, are, what the fuck? And then, seriously, what the fuck? So this episode starts with Gordon deciding to put together a task force for the specific purpose of capturing the Batman. And it's being headed by Renee Montoya, who I introduced to you earlier. Now, here her design is interesting. Oh god, I forgot the subplot from Kiss of the Catwoman too. That'll actually play into this a little, so we'll get into it as we go on. Anyway, the design for Renee Montoya here is interesting because she may look normal, like if you just see her design by itself, but then you see Barbara Gordon, who is way thinner, and you realize, oh, this is like a stockier, huskier Renee Montoya. And it actually kind of works. Like, you know, she looks like she is muscular, like, or at least, you know, like she looks like she could hold her own in a fight. She's not just a pretty face; she's got some bulk behind her. Speaking of which, we also have Harley Quinn, introduced in the last episode as Dr. Harleen Quinzel, Bruce Wayne's court-ordered psychiatrist, after he got a little too angry at one of the reporters at the art museum where his mother's pearls were being displayed. The reporter says, "Geez, look at those. And she wore them going into Crime Alley? That's just asking to get mugged." You know, basically making fun of a deceased parent in front of their child. So Batman clocks him, which proves that this is a Bruce Wayne who has not quite mastered his composure. And Harley, for what it's worth, sees right through it. She can tell that he's putting on a facade the entire time, especially since he gets these 1,000-yard stares, because as she's talking to him about his parents' murder, he gets these awful flashbacks to that night. And, like, we just see this child looking so dead-eyed as like, you know, he's being taken home by Alfred or interviewed by the cops and all this stuff. And then at the very end of Kiss the Catwoman, we see Alfred's point of view from the night of the murders, where he's just polishing the windows on the car when he hears 2 gunshots down the alley near the movie theater. Which, like, Alfred, why didn't you pick them up at the theater? I don't know, that's weird. But there are extenuating circumstances that could have been involved, like, you know, in Arkham Asylum, it's implied Bruce wanted to rewatch the film a bunch. Which, like, is that multiplexing? Is that still considered multiplexing if you stay and watch the same movie over again? Anyway. Now back on to Night of the Hunters. After setting up a bunch of sting operations where they pretend to have muggings and stuff to catch Batman and it doesn't work, Renee Montoya decides to bring in a friend of a friend, Harley Quinn, or Harleen Quinzel. Harley Quinn is such a better name than Harleen Quinzel. Harleen Quinzel is a made-up name. Harley Quinn is an actual name that someone might have. People are named Harley. People are not named Harleen. People are named Quinn. People are not named Quinzel. Yeah. Yeah, see? Yeah. But so... Bullock and Flass hear Harley's description of Batman and his savior complex. Which it's weird that Harley profiling both Batman and Bruce Wayne didn't kind of put two and two together. Because that's exactly what Hugo Strange did. Anyway. So it seems like she is a talented psychiatrist. She just, maybe missed that one little piece. But so they hear that, and also, she also says that he has an attraction to like crazies in costumes, and they're like, oh, interesting, because they happen to have an arsonist in lockup by the name of Garfield Linz, who comic fans will recognize as the notorious arsonist Firefly. And this Firefly is legitimately disturbed. He's like ill. He needs to be institutionalized. We see his point of view. We see his mental processes. And so Bullock and Flass are like, well, Batman obviously isn't biting when we give him clearly fake bait. So let's give him real bait and just catch him in the act. So they accidentally let Firefly, called Firebug here, loose with all his equipment, his fireproof suit and his flamethrowers. And he immediately grabs them, goes into a basement, fills them up with flammable chemicals, and starts torching an apartment. So now Batman, Flass, Bullock, Firebug, Gordon, and Montoya all are in this burning building. Montoya and Gordon trying to save kids. Batman trying to save kids. Montoya and Gordon trying to save whoever they can. And Flass and Bullock trying to catch Batman and or Firebug. They do eventually find Firebug on the top of the building. And and he's like, well, I'm out of fuel, so And then Flass is like, he'll talk. So they shoot him repeatedly. He falls out the window onto a thing, and it's just so sad. It's so fucked up. This is a genuinely, he needs help, you assholes. Oh, that's so bad! Oh, no! And he's voiced by Tom Kenny. So I have written in my notes, they killed SpongeBob. Those bastards. I'm ready. No! Poor SpongeBob. No! Oh. And this Shutterbug who'd been around since Kiss of the Catwoman. He's the one who actually photographed Catwoman in the act, but also photographed Batman clocking some cops. So that's what got him. That's what got the thing made in the first place. The task force made in the first place. He takes photos of them shooting the guy through the window, and I'm like, oh yeah, you guys are fucked now. Gordon's gonna kick kick your asses off the force. Then I realized, oh, right, this is the 1940s. Or, it's the nebulous noirish past. This is pulpy, mid-century New York, New Jersey type stuff. The kind of things you'd read about in like a Dick Tracy book, or hear about on The Shadow radio play. And so the reporter's like, oh yeah, these two hero cops put down Firefly. Granted, they don't know that he was out of fuel at the time, but the autopsy would show, oh hey, his canisters were empty. And so Flass and Bullock get put in charge of the thing, while Montoya's taken out of it. But Gordon is allowed to keep his job because he was caught saving some kids. Because the mayor was threatening to remove him from his job. Oh, by the way, this whole time there's this huge subplot about the mayoral campaign, where the current mayor, not Mayor Hill, who's usually the mayor in these movies, or in Batman stuff, is running against Harvey Dent. And Harvey Dent has run for mayor in the past. Anyway. Next up, the stress of her regard. Finally, our darling Harlequin takes center stage. We open by being introduced to King Tut. Doo-doo. He gave his life for tourism. King Tut. Born in Babylonia, moved to California. King Tut. But King Tut is a character from the 1966 series with Adam West, where he was an Egyptologist who got conked on the noggin and became a weird, and thought he was the actual embodiment of King Tut for a bit. Anyway. Oh yeah, and also in Kiss the Catwoman there was a mention of Scarecrow, so Scarecrow Watch. Which I don't know if that'll be a recurring segment, but as a professed fan of the Tatty Bogle, I do feel a certain necessity in making sure he gets represented. So here's where all the Harley Quinn stuff kind of comes home to roost. We find out that she's been the frequent what do you call it? What am I trying to say? The psychiatrist for Gotham's elite. And most of them just use her as a shoulder to cry on. They are so narcissistic and sociopathic, they can't see what monsters they are. And she tries to make them see the error in their ways, but most of them don't. In fact, I'd say probably all of them didn't, given that we don't really hear about any successes with her. And I'm not sure if that's her fault per se. Maybe she internalized hatred of these people and just convinced herself they couldn't get better, so she didn't even try to better them. But also, it's just wealth does something to you. It destroys your empathy. And, but so, we see that she's been, enslaving the elite and brainwashing them to give away all their money. And the way she does it is just so juvenile. It's so weird. It's like something from a kid show, but because this is a very pulpy world, it comes off as kind of even more disturbing. One of them is dressed like a giant baby and wants pudding. And, of course, we get what Harley used to call Joker all the time when she says, oh, if you break this asshole's kneecaps, I'll let you have pudding. And so he just goes, pudding, as he's walking toward a guy with a mallet. All the while, Harleen in her like normal life is hitting on Renee Montoya and invites her out to dinner, and I'm just like, hell yeah, hell yeah, lesbians unite. I love lesbians. I have a Korosami keychain. Although technically they're not lesbians, they're both bisexuals. They're just in a lesbian relationship or sapphic relationship, you could say. Look, I'm not a LGBTQ expert. I'm just you don't need to understand to accept. Um, I have written down here chunky Asian Harley because Harley is now another is a again, she doesn't look like it when you just see her, but when you see her compared to Barbara Gordon, you're like, okay, she's supposed to be a little huskier, she's supposed to be like kind of chubby, and she is Asian, which I find interesting. Like, it's not like, and also given that her suit now is yellow and black instead of red and black, almost like a hornet. I wonder if she's supposed to be kind of a combination of Harley and Punchline. For those who don't know, Punchline is a more recent addition to the comics. She is an Asian character. She is kind of who Joker replaced Harley with after Harley kind of freed herself from his clutches. But whereas Harley was the beaten up girlfriend, Punchline is more of the disciple. She believes in what Joker's doing. She wants to be a part of his chaos. She doesn't try to mitigate his evilness. She embraces it. Which I always thought you could use to tie into the fact that she is a POC character. Maybe like her parents were killed in a hate crime and Batman couldn't stop it. And then Joker killed the guys who did the hate crime because they just pissed him off one day or something. So she was like, oh, this guy's actually doing shit. Batman's stuff doesn't work. But that's like a weird thing to say, so, the episode ends with Harley faking her death and Batman rescuing Barbara as Harley's lair is destroyed by a self-destruct sequence because it's a pulp show, you gotta have the self-destruct button. And then she calls Renee Montoya on a payphone and says like, hey, I gotta leave town for a while, don't worry about it, I'll be fine. Also, Harley calls Barbara Barbie, which is just, I don't know. Barbie should not be a name for anyone anymore because of Mattel. Unfortunately, the brand has supplanted the actual nickname. I'm a Barbie girl. My face makes you hurl. Sorry. Oh, and now we get into the weird stuff. As if it hasn't been weird so far. We get Night Ride. We get my boy, Jim Craddock, Gentleman Ghost. Hell yeah. Classic villain. He usually works more off Flash or Superman, I think. But basically, his whole thing is that he is a ghost of a thief. And he likes to... it's interesting because he is a ghost who is supposed to be beyond material possessions, but he wants money. In fact, there's this great line from Batman the Brave and the Bold where he says, "Ah, my old necktie, some things never go out of fashion," as he's like, twirling a noose around, which is just such a funny thing. Let's see. Oh yeah, first thing I have here is, I don't like the redesign. So, Jim Craddock in the comics is a 19th century robber, sort of like from Dickensian England. He wears a top hat, a monocle, and a white suit with a cape. I think it was black when he was alive. It's all white after he's dead, though. He's very posh, and the idea is that he's a gentleman criminal. But here, he's actually a Tory. A British supporter from revolutionary Gotham. From colonial Gotham, I should say. His family lost all its wealth after the Americans won the revolution, so he turned to crime. But he only stole from the poor. And because he sees the poor as the reason he lost all his wealth. which is just like, and like he even says to Batman, "Oh, you seem to be the product of good breeding." Like, oh, he's so just like, no, no. Remember, eugenics has always been a thing. Just look at how inbred the king, or the royal families were. Um, I have here written, did my boy dirty, because they change him from like just a cool like guy in a top hat, a ghost in an invisible from this like cool invisible man design to just like a highwayman on a horse. It feels like it's kind of like riffing off of the Headless Horseman a bit. I don't know. We also have a cameo by Linton Midnight, or Papa Midnight. He plays Batman's supernatural personages. Now, I thought the twist was going to be that, oh, it's just some guy using a bunch of cheap magical effects, but no. It is actually the ghost of uh, Lord James Craddock. He is called in this. And Papa Midnight, who is a voodoo witch doctor from the DC Comics and a frequent antagonist of John Constantine, is sort of Batman's like his guide in this. He tells him like, oh yeah, you gotta. For some reason, I just gave him like a Wisconsin accent. Oh yeah, eh? He does talk he actually talks in like kind of a Jamaican accent. He gives him like a little vibe. He gives him like a page on how to like turn him like exercise him basically from the living realm, and then gives him a little vial to capture him in. And then at the end of the episode, Batman has to give Craddock to Midnight, and the first thing Midnight says is, "Hello, Jim. It's been a long time." Except he says it in a Jamaican accent, and then Craddock is like, "No, not him. Anyone but him." Which I love that. I love humanizing supernatural entities. I have it written down here as Neil Gaimaning, because Neil Gaiman did a lot of stuff with that. He did American Gods. He did what's that one show that's got fucking, pardon my French, that's got the guy as Crowley. Good Omens. And of course he did Sandman. Next up, we do a complete turnaround and have Moving Target. Someone put the hit out on Gordon. I have written down here Jazzman, because in the Batman the Animated Series episode I Am the Night, Gordon is almost killed by a man, or Commissioner Gordon is almost killed by a kind of like Silver Age type villain called Jazzman, whose whole thing is like he plays jazz and then he kills you. He's got a steel. Oh, I have here but basically like, because a bunch of dudes come off a train holding instruments, but they're actually just like they're hiding guns. And then their boss comes off, and it's Onomatopoeia, who is a Silver Age villain. And I have written here, stupid gimmick, cool design, because like his whole thing is that he mimics onomatopoeias. He just keeps saying, oh, did I spit? Sorry. He just keeps saying different onomatopoeias over and over again. Like when he's first introduced, he goes dun dun dun. And when Batman finally beats him, Batman just says, pow. Or bam, or like, gives one of the classic Adam Westian pow, bam, onomatopoeias that are often in like big, the action bubbles, as it were. Let's see. Because Commissioner Gordon and his daughter Barbara are such big parts of this, I bring up that Bab sounds like Kimberly Brooks, who actually played Barbara Gordon in Batman Arkham Asylum and Batman Arkham City. Not in Arkham Knight, that was a different actress. She also plays Allura in Voltron. She's Ashley Williams in Mass Effect. Not Ashley Williams in Evil Dead. Ashley Williams in Mass Effect, where a black voice actress plays a white woman who is racist against aliens. Woo! But no, the actual actress who plays Barbara in Crusader is Crystal Joy Brown. I I didn't want to reference Kimberly Brooks without actually having the name of the actress who played Barbara Gordon on hand. Let's see. So like a person in the clink has put a hit out on Gordon. He actually put it out on Barbara Gordon. Oh, spoilers for the whole series, by the way. Again, I said it yesterday, but we are going balls deep into this. They think it's for Commissioner Gordon. It's actually for Barbara Gordon. And so like, but because they are always together in this episode, they think it's for him until the very end. And a bunch of criminals try to collect it, including a brief cameo by Deadshot, Floyd Lawson, Will Smith from the Suicide Squad movie. Except this time he doesn't even get a shot off. He gets like just KO'd immediately. And then Batman interrogates the guy who made the hit and gets him to call it off. But like it's too late for anyone who's, because this is before cell phones in the universe. In fact, Batman's kind of the only person who has a wireless phone. He's got one in the Batmobile. And so, like, at the very end of the episode, one of the cops who was helping keep Gordon alive aims his gun at Barbara when no one's looking, and says, "Look, I'm sorry, Babs, it's a lot of money, okay? I got debts." And then Gordon shoots the gun out of his hand and he's arrested. Or James Gordon shoots the gun out of his hand and he's arrested. Also, the guy the cop who did that is apparently the mortal identity of the Spectre, who is basically possessed by the spirit of vengeance, not Ghost Rider, and doles out supernatural punishment on the cruel, evil world. I always wanted him to turn his thing on Joker and basically have him get murdered by every person he's ever killed. I don't know. Anyway, next up we have another supernatural one, Nocturna. First thing to note, Robins. All the Robins. So many Robins. We've got Dick Grayson. We have Jason Todd. We have Stephanie, I forget her last name, and we have Carrie, I forget her last name. So, Dick Grayson, the most classic Robin. He's the one whose parents died in a circus accident. Well, technically they died to Tony Zuko, but that's neither here nor there. Jason Todd, he's the orphan Bruce adopted who stole wheels off the Batmobile. Steph, she was the first female Robin in the modern era. I mean, like, or in the current age. Technically, Carrie was the first female Robin, I think, but she's from Dark Knight Returns, the Frank Miller comic. But they're all the same age here, which is really weird. Granted, I don't think they're supposed to be the same characters, but they're clearly referencing them. They even have the same designs as those characters. The carnival basic plot synopsis: orphans are disappearing at a carnival. It reminds me a lot of Mr. Dark's Carnival from Something Wicked This Way Comes. Classic novel. I love it to bits. I actually kind of look like Mr. Dark, don't I? Mind you, he was less fat. Jonathan Pryce, man. So good. Such a good actor. I think I have that somewhere around here, too. We're introduced to Bruce's fiancée, Julie, who is actually a Golden Age character who worked with Batman by playing a decoy Robin once, but she eventually left Bruce because she thought he was just a wastrel, like he wasn't going anywhere in life. The plot twist is that a little girl named Natalia Knight is an energy vampire named Nocturna, and she drains all these kids dry, basically like leaving them in a comatose state. It's said later on that they will recover, but it is very gruesome to see like children who are based on, if not exactly, these classic characters get just pwned by this child vampire. and she's got like super strength and stuff. It kind of has notes of Let the Right One In to me, which I've never seen, so maybe I'm just projecting here because it's a little girl vampire. She is actually her own age though. She isn't like 100 years old or whatever. No, she is an actual little girl. We get I say, we actually get some of actual Batman in this because it's a more classic Batman here because he is trying to rescue children, and it's got so many good moments with him where like he refuses to let Nocturna die because she accidentally kills her older brother, tosses him against a wall, he breaks his back, dies a little bit later. She's chasing down. She's chasing down Carrie. She manages to get away from her using a slingshot and kicking her in the gut. Then she's like beating up Batman, and Batman tells her what happened, and then the sun's starting to rise, and she just wants to let the sun consume her because she may be an energy vampire, but she's still a vampire. She's going to burn up, and Batman's just like, no. Picks her up, puts his cape over her, walks her back to the circus. And Carrie is holding his cape on the way too. It's such a good scene. It's got all things you kind of want to. It actually does hit me a little bit because, Batman. His costume is meant to scare criminals, not children, and it does. Kids like him. It's the adults who fear him. Also, there's the scene earlier in the video, or in the episode where he's as Bruce trying to find the kids, and he says like, "Hey, did you see two little girls go through here?" And the carnies take it the exact wrong way, and he gets his ass beat by Killer Croc and the bearded lady. It's delicious. Even it's like again he doesn't. Maybe it's just that he doesn't want to seem like he's trying to be Bruce Wayne here, but he doesn't even try to explain himself. He's like, no, I mean seriously, there is a missing children. I'm trying to help a lady, or I'm trying to help Leslie Tompkins here. I don't know. And then I have here like, oh right, Two-Face, because as if an afterthought, there's this whole subplot in the episode about Rupert Thorne having donated a significant portion to Harvey Dent's campaign on the condition that he will go light on one of Thorne's goons. He's supposed to throw out charges because he's the district attorney. And Harvey, who has been kind of a dick the whole time, like he has been a very corrupt person. He finally has a change of heart at the very end and is like, you know what? Yes, we are going to proceed with trial, and I would like the convict held until, and I would like the convict to be held until the trial, or the accused to be held until the trial. And he's like, very well. Or Joe's just like, okay, whatever. And then one of Thorne's men ambushes Harvey in the bathroom, throws acid in his face. But it feels like such an afterthought to a really good episode about, like, a vampire at a carnival. Like, that's cool! And then we just get returned to the more pulpy stuff. Then we have... Wait, what? Oh, hold on. There it is. The Killer Inside Me. Episode 9. We get Two-Face... Or we get Harvey in his apartment. It's all beaten up now. He's pissed, or he resigned from his DA job, which is weird because I don't know. He's in a fragile mental state, though. He's not doing too good. Bruce Wayne comes in pretending to be his friend, which he kind of is, but here it's for an ulterior motive. He drags him out to a fancy place to have him kind of lean on him and interrogate him about who attacked him so that Batman can find him. But he goes a little too hard and just Harvey's fragile mental state just completely shatters, and Two-Face happens. He rips off his bandages in front of everyone, shows off his face, and being honest, it doesn't look that interesting to me. He kind of looks like Boris Karloff's mummy, or like Boris Karloff as there's this one where Boris Karloff played like a serial killer who's like, I am only a bad guy because I have an ugly face. You're a plastic surgeon. Give me a handsome face and I'll be able to be good again. I'll be a good person. And the guy actually makes him look even worse to coerce him into doing crimes for him, with the promise that he'll make him look better at the end. So that's kind of what Harvey's bad side looks like. I feel like they could have gone harder with it. I prefer a more gross Two-Face. Give me a Two-Face where the skin is a different color, where he looks like a ghoul or a monster. That's one thing I loved about the Batman the Animated Series Two-Face, was that he had this like gross, like curled lip and this grotesque blue face with like just this yellow unblinking eye, and Richard Mall doing this very gravelly voice. Yeah, Two-Face. Diedrich Bader plays Two-Face here, or well, Harvey Dent and Two-Face, I should say, which is interesting because Diedrich Bader played Batman in Batman Brave and the Bold. So that's kind of weird. And he also plays Batman and Batman and Harley Quinn. And it's just like meh, he sounds a lot like Troy Baker, and I kind of would have preferred if they got Troy Baker, because I feel like Troy Baker would have brought a lot more humanity to the character. Because like Troy Baker, very good voice actor. He played Joel in Last of Us. If you've only seen the TV show, Joel is, he plays Joel in the video game. He plays Two-Face in Arkham Asylum, or well, Arkham City, I should say, and Arkham Knight. He actually played Batman and Joker a number of times. He also played Booker DeWitt, if you're a fan of BioShock. And then, like, at the end, and like, okay, so Harvey tracks down the guy who killed him, or well, the guy who threw acid in his face, and it's implied, the way he talks to him, that Two-Face is actually the good side, and Harvey is the bad side. I'm not sure if that's what they were going for, but that is an interesting take. Hyde is the good one, Jekyll is the bad one. Because, like, he doesn't talk to him as Two-Face. He talks to him as Harvey Dent. And as Harvey Dent, he says, by the way, I'm the one who wants to do this to you. As if he's saying, this is because you did this to me, but this isn't the side of me that wants to do it. I also have here written, Harvey never was a good guy. We already covered that. At the very end, he tries to kill Rupert Thorne and Rupert Thorne's son, but Batman finally stops him. And it's like, oh, you gotta stop me, man. I can't control myself. And it's like, dude, you already killed so many people. What's one more person? Let him kill Thorne. The guy's... Leave the kid alone, but kill Thorne. But Rupert Thorne's son is like, I don't know. He's just like a high school kid who wants to watch baseball with his dad, which is interesting because we see like a human side to the mobster. He's not just a crime lord. He is a parent. He spends the whole episode like, look, I'm spending time with my kid. You guys deal with this. I trust your competency to shoot a disfigured man with a revolver. But somehow, like, Harvey gets, like, superpowers or something, because he's doing all kinds of stuff that there's no way he should be able to do. Anyway. Final episode, Savage Knight. Team-up episode! Not with Superman, not with the Flash, no! This is a team-up episode where finally all our heroes get together. Batman, Barbara, Gordon, and Montoya, all on the same side. when Barbara calls them all in to help her escort Two-Face to trial because she believes that he can help her, because he was kind of a dirty attorney, a dirty district attorney. He knows where all the bodies are buried. He can help her put a lot of bad people in prison. Including Thorne, because Thorne is the one who ordered the hit on him. I have it here, Flass and Bullock suck. Flass and Bullock are given orders by Thorne to shoot both Barbara and Two-Face. There's this entire chase scene on a foggy pier. It's really good. A lot of twists and turns. Harvey takes a slug to the gut. Because Barbara handcuffed herself to him earlier to keep him from doing anything stupid, and he keeps telling her no, go away. I'm not worth it. I don't deserve this. But Barbara is seeing a change in this man because it is a different Harvey. He has been humbled. He is a better person. Weirdly, after getting turned into the supervillain Two-Face than he ever was as Harvey Dent. It's a very interesting conundrum here, and I would have loved to have seen it explored more, but we won't get that, and you'll see why in a bit. We actually get Goodface, as Two-Face saves Barbara from getting shot by Flass. And takes the bullet for her. Which I think is supposed to almost be a reference to Oracle. So basically, Barbara Gordon gets shot in the stomach by Joker, gets crippled in the spine, and is wheelchair bound. So she becomes a computer hacker named Oracle. And it was a really cool character, even though it came from a really stupid comic. The Killing Joke sucks, Alan Moore's opinion included. Or, opinion of the author included in that one. And it's a really tragic scene, and then Batman is pissed. He punches Flash, has him against a wall, all the while, Gordon's already taking care of Bullock elsewhere, and he picks up the gun and aims it at Flash, and you're like, oh fuck, Batman's about to do it! This Batman's about to do it! And then you hear about 4 or 5 shots ring out across the pier, and then you go back, Batman's holding the smoking gun, and then you look at Flash, and there's just 5 bullet holes perfectly circling his head, and he's just like, ah! Batman just chucks the gun in the ocean and bam! Just slugs him. And then Gordon and Montoya get there, get back to them, because they all got separated in the fog. And Gordon's like, hey, man, you gotta leave. They got people coming. I gotta arrest you if they get here. And so Batman's like, yeah, and goes away. And then we get Thorne hears Harvey is dead, and he's like, good. Then a batarang just breaks through his window and impales the chair right next to his head and cuts his ear a bit. And then you zoom out and you see Batman standing on a thing, and lightning flashes behind him, and you're like, yeah! Oh, it's a classic Batman from the Paul Dini and Bruce Timm show that inspired this whole thing. Woo! And then to counteract that, you cut to a shack where a bunch of people are in various forms of rictus, and we cut to the final victim who's still laughing, and his face contorts into a horrible grin, and then we cut to someone saying in a deep gravelly voice, finally, and it's Joker. It's whatever. No! Overall thoughts. Much to my own surprise, Tim's vision works. So, for those who don't know, Bruce Timm is a Bruce Wayne, Barbara Gordon shipper. Probably because his name is Bruce too. I always found this to be a creepy dynamic. Bruce is usually in his 30s to 40s. Barbara is usually in her early 20s because she is the daughter of Commissioner Gordon. However, this is an older Gordon and thus an older Barbara. Babs looks to be closer to Bruce in age. Uh, she is also not shown as a protege, but more as an equal to Batman. That really shifts the power dynamic, makes the possibility of a relationship work. And I have here the only two of the only characters not shown to team up with, or two of the only Batman sidekicks not shown in that episode with Nocturna are Cassidy or Cassie or I think her name is Cass and Tim Drake. So I think they're going to be the Batgirl and Robin to this particular Batman. Some villains I would like to see show up, of course, Scarecrow. I've always been a big Scarecrow fan. The Peyton Reed ventriloquist. There have actually been 3 ventriloquists. Arnold Wesker, the original, Peyton Reed, and Shauna. I forget her last name. She's a weird psychic. It's kind of dumb. But Peyton Reed, I think, fits most of this world because she kind of fits with the pulpy nature of Scarface. She is a mobster's daughter who got shot in the eye by her fiance. So she kind of has her hair in a cascade over it to hide the scar. And after getting shot in the head, she finds the murdered ventriloquist and Scarface. And Scarface has been shattered around the same eye as her, and she develops kind of this I don't know, not psychic, but mental. She kind of projects onto this dummy her own trauma, and it's a really interesting. And because she is a mobster's daughter and was going to marry a mobster to kind of bridge 2 families together until her fiance tried to assassinate her, she dresses up as the mole. The mole, or MOLL, the arm candy to Scarface, the ventriloquist dummy. Which I love that look, and because she has this kind of disturbing thing where she looks very pretty, but she's also kind of always smiling, almost like a wax figure or something. And then of course you see her dead eye. You see the scarred eye if you look under her hair. And you see that she's not all there. She also apparently had a relationship with Hush for a little bit. I don't want Hush to show up. We already had Harvey Dent. We don't need another Batman, Bruce Wayne friendship turned supervillain. What other villains? Professor Pig might be cool. Just because, he doesn't really get a whole lot of screen time. More dumb villains. Classic villains reimagined. You know what I mean? We haven't had Crazy Quilt or Ten-Eyed Man. That'd be cool. Oh, Roxy Rocket would be a really good one. Roxy Rocket, she's actually from the animated series. Her whole deal is that she's a daredevil who gets more and more suicidal. Not suicidal, but she needs the thrill of almost dying. So she rides around on a literal crotch rocket, and the only way Batman's able to defeat her is by pretending that she's going to kill them both, and she's just yes, yes, do it, big boy, and then rescues them both at the last second. She's damn it. And then she tries to get Superman, and it's lady, Superman is not going to placate your weird fetish. He is going to rescue you and have you in a straitjacket in about 2 seconds. Anyway. Yeah, so, again, it's a very pulpy show. It's very noirish. It's a lot more noir than even Batman the Animated Series. I gotta get this stuff off. I am a human being. I am not an animal. It's choking me. My red shirt almost looks like an ascot under this. But yeah, it's a good show. If you have Amazon Prime, give it a watch. I would recommend watching it through yourself before you watch it with kids, because there's a lot of dark and disturbing moments in it. So even though it's a cartoon, you shouldn't be tempted to treat the kids to it, okay? Okay. Anyway, y'all have a good one. This is Royce Miller. I'm outie.